Someone really smarter than me said, if you're going to be the boss, be the dumbest person in the room. Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and better than you, and you're going to be successful. And I've always attempted to do that. I always like to surround myself with people who know more than me or know something different than me. And I let them go and do their jobs. A lot of times people micromanage, or I have to do this, I have to do that, don't do that. Or on the coaching levels, I see a lot of assistant coaches that aren't allowed to talk. They get in their timeouts and they have a little thing, especially in the high school levels. They're just there to toss balls, and sometimes they don't even do that well. But they have ideas, and the coach is like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, then why do you have that person there? Everyone has a different opinion and they may see something different. So go do it. Or for coaching, one of the things that I did with some of the clubs I work with is we have days where once a month the entire club gets together and we work with all the kids in the entire club. We had from 12 to 18s. The kids get together, we all train, and all the coaches come together. But before that, all the coaches get together and say, hey, who's having an issue with a kid? So my 18s coach may say, hey, number 4 outside hitter, Mary Smith, I can't fix her feet. Something is wrong. I don't know what it is. Would you from the 16s, you're great with outside hitters. Can you watch her this Saturday and go work with her?
Love this. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Better at Beach Volleyball podcast. My name is Mark Burik, and if you're here, it's probably because in some way, shape, or form, you are trying to get better at beach volleyball. We teach people how to get better playing, coaching, and today we have a really interesting conversation because we have somebody who's played, who's coached, and who has come from the organizational side. So all of these tournaments and regional activities, regional events, building with academies now, and all the way up until almost government level where he's working with Flagler County Parks and Rec. He's somebody who's seeing all sides of it. So this is a conversation that you guys are going to be interested in if you like organizing events. If you see people failing or you think people could do better from the organizational side, and maybe you're wondering why, what's so difficult about getting things done in terms of tournament organization and putting on big events. So from a player side, from a coach side, from an organizer side, this is going to be a great episode. He's currently the director of beach volleyball for DME Academy down in Florida. And he is, like we said, the Flagler County Parks and Recs department. He's a special event coordinator there, and he's been managing sports and recreation programs for the past 6 years. And I want to welcome, with a big open heart, Craig Lenniger. What's going on, man?
Hey, how are you? Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's so fun for me to see like different sides of sports because we interview a lot of players, right? We interview a lot of, most of the coaches we talk to are former players and current coaches, and then we also get a lot of the players. But for me personally, I love the interest in the business side of it, the organization side of it, the teaching or showing people how to direct events and how to create those. Maybe this conversation steers towards helping some of those people who do want to see more events in their own area and what ways they can actually develop that, grow it, what steps they could take. And I know from an organizational side that you're going to be a master at this.
Yeah, a little bit. Done 1 or 2 events in my lifetime, so
yeah, 1 or 2 to put it lightly.
Yeah.
So let's go. I'm going to pick a random year in the past, right? Let's go to 2002.
Okay.
What were you doing in volleyball and for sports organization?
That was a while ago. I think 20 years ago, I think I was in Virginia Beach, I think at the time, running Tidewater Volleyball Association. I had worked for USA Volleyball. I graduated college, worked for USA Volleyball. I did Nike Volley Van where I traveled across the country, and it was 90,000 miles, 50,000 kids, 20,000 coaches. I taught them the sport of volleyball. I lived out of a van for 340 days a year, and then 7 days I went to AVCA in the Final Four, and then I saw mom for a week at Christmas. That was 2 years, and then moved out to California, did the CBVA thing for a while, lived in Ventura, and then moved back to Virginia Beach area and started Tidewater Volleyball. Started because we're working for them, came in as a juniors coordinator. And my very first day was our juniors meeting, and the executive director said, hey, by the way, I put my resignation in and I'm going to suggest you become executive director of this organization. I was like,
day one?
Yeah, day one. Literally I drove into town. We had breakfast in the morning, and she broke the news of the morning of. The person who had just hired me, who I'd made friends with and planning on work with, she goes, "I'm resigning and you're probably going to be boss." Okay. So it was a very big change. I was very appreciative of it, but it was kind of going in and, there was a lot of hurdles when you go someplace and you're new and no one knows who you are and you kind of they're set in their ways. And the biggest thing I challenged there was that's not how we do it. That's not how we've done it in the past. Why do you want to do it that way? We don't do it. And then to my answer is, why not change it? Just because it works doesn't mean it's the best way of doing things. If we never changed anything, we'd still be, driving cars with, wooden wheels or horse and buggy. Because it worked. It didn't make it, cars are better and they keep moving, or phones, or, now we can look at our watches and have conversations on our watch. So we've got to grow and advance and get bigger and better. And some people didn't like it. But the one thing I always believed in is making everything fair and equivalent. And there weren't favorites. People that I wound up becoming friends with, they always had the toughest draw or the toughest day, not because I was being mean to them, but because I wanted to do everything fair. So people didn't think I ever played favorites, or I didn't, mess with pool so that my friend has an easy pool and they get out to the playoffs, or, better at TVA, we had a lot of leagues and there was issues with the schedules. And you played 2 matches a night, and first match was 6 o'clock, last match was 10 o'clock at night. So people weren't getting done until 11 o'clock at night playing indoor volleyball. And there are always weird things with schedules and with breaks and buys and different things. So I went in and changed all the schedules, and instead of assigning teams to a position, we had a captain's meeting and we drew numbers basically out of a ping pong balls out of a big PVC tube that I kind of made, like a lottery drawing type thing. So I couldn't control who was playing where at what times. And it was really funny because there was one gentleman who was really mad at his schedule. And I said, all right, if you can make it better and fit in the same time slots that we have and your schedule works out, I'll change it. And he kind of went,
I love this response because you can complain about stuff or you can offer solutions. And man, always we see 99%, 99.9% complainers with zero solutions. So, a complaint is part of what's going to change something and it needs to exist. But after a while, for the third time you've complained without offering any better ideas or without stepping up to the plate and saying, hey, I'd like to be an organizer. Then sit down, because
and being part of a successful organizer is challenging us people to make things better, but then listening to them when they come back with something better. Don't just go, oh no, your idea is stupid, or your idea won't work, or that's not better. Ladies and gentlemen, I was referring to, he came back and had a better schedule. So I said, okay, next week we're going with your schedule. He was like, what do you mean? I'm like, your schedule's better. We're going to go with it. You've came up with something that's perfect. I'm happy with it. You're happy with it. If anyone complains, they're going to tell them to go to you, and they can yell at you because you made it, and we'll go from there.
But Craig, aren't you inferior for accepting somebody else's good idea instead of yours?
No, someone really smarter than me said, if you're going to be the boss, be the dumbest person in the room. Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and better than you, and you're going to be successful. And I've always attempted to do that. I always like to surround myself with people who know more than me or know something different than me. And I let them go and do their jobs. A lot of times people micromanage, or I have to do this, I have to do that, don't do that. Or on the coaching levels, I see a lot of assistant coaches that aren't allowed to talk. They get in their timeouts and they have a little thing, especially in the high school levels. They're just there to toss balls, and sometimes they don't even do that well. But they have ideas, and the coach is like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, then why do you have that person there? Everyone has a different opinion and they may see something different. So go do it. Or for coaching, one of the things that I did with some of the clubs I work with is we have days where once a month the entire club gets together and we work with all the kids in the entire club. We had from 12 to 18s. The kids get together, we all train, and all the coaches come together. But before that, all the coaches get together and say, hey, who's having an issue with a kid? So my 18s coach may say, hey, number 4 outside hitter, Mary Smith, I can't fix her feet. Something is wrong. I don't know what it is. Would you, from the 16s, you're great with outside hitters, can you watch her this Saturday and go work with her?
Love this. Love this.
One of those things where you have these coaches, especially at club or on beach or whatever it is, you have these programs with 15 or 20 coaches, but they always get so micro focused on their team or their two kids or whatever they wind up doing. And you have a kid, and especially some programs that coaches get so possessive of the kids, they coach them from 12s to 18s and they never get better. They kind of had the same thing. They always hear the same words. There's nothing different coming out. Why not let the people you work with or you're friends with coach kids and have them look at them and say, hey, I can't figure this out. Can you please come help?
Right. Because people are so afraid that makes them look inferior or looks incapable. We see this. So from a personal story, I've coached, I think, 3 different Olympians kids in volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I've never gotten to go to the Olympics. They clearly know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But, they kind of sit in the back of the lesson. And when, daughter's eyes light up and oh, yeah, that works.
Mm-hmm.
And, dad's back there rolling his eyes because he's like, I told you that 1,000 times, but you just need to hear it from somebody different or in a slightly different way. I mean, even my wife, I've told her a few different pieces of advice for passing and for defense. And then she came to one of our camps and I put her on JM Plummer's court and she's like, oh, this really works. And I'm pulling my hair out, but you need to hear it from a different person or in a slightly different worded way to make it make sense.
Word, a different tone, or just someone that's different. It's out there, and it might be just a different way of explaining it where, instead of saying, make sure your platform is level, you say thumbs down when you pass. So now they have a new focus and they go, oh, that's how my platform gets level. That's what they've been talking about. Or, rolling your shoulders, whatever it winds up being, here's a different way of saying, or someone's exact same thing, showing the exact same form, but the words are associated different and the kids relate to it different. So that's important, and the other thing I find is that coaches are so possessive. They're afraid they're going to lose kids to another club. And I've always told kids, try out for every club you can, whether it's on the beach, whether it's indoors, whatever it wind up going to, go find the best fit for you. I believe I'm a really good coach. And
very interesting.
With me.
You think that kids should try out for multiple clubs?
Why not? I mean, what's the harm in it? If you don't relate to your coach, what's the harm in going and playing for another coach that you relate to better?
Why not interview them all? You're going to do it. If you plan to play in college, you're going to interview and go visit, different colleges. Why wouldn't you do that in a club? You're going to spend so much time with that club. You better like it. That's brilliant. I've never even heard. Why haven't I even heard of people doing that?
It's some of it is possession and some of it now is financial gains. And I understand people are in it to make money and stuff, but I'm in it for the love of the game. And I want the kids to get better. When I started the high performance program in North Carolina, way back in the day when I came out of USA Volleyball, we had kids coming from all over the state in training. And they said, well, why don't we make a team and play together? We're so good. We're going out and finishing second, third in high performance championships, but we're coming from all over the state of North Carolina. And that's how some of the bigger clubs were formed. But then it was, hey, let's go figure out how can we do this? How can we train with different coaches and different people? And we always told the kids, go play for whoever you want to play for. You have to learn to relate. And the other thing I see a lot of times is, especially in the volleyball world, unless you're going to Florida or Stanford or UCLA, you're probably going to have 2 coaches in your college career. Coaches aren't staying there for a long period of time. If you have one coach from the time you're 12 to the time you're 18, and then you only know how to relate to that person or deal with that person, you go to college and you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing. And then after a year, the coach is like, peace out. I'm going someplace else.
Yeah.
Especially on beach with all the opportunities going now, there's, coaches are going all over the place and, they're doing what they love and trying to better themselves. You can't blame them per se, but you've got to learn to play for different people and different reactions. So go someplace that you feel comfortable and you're proud to wear, those letters on your chest, whatever it winds up being. And I'm not going to be hurt if you don't play for me, as long as you're having a good experience. Right. Go play. That's what I've always told everybody. I don't care where you play, as long as you go play.
That's such a good thing to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that as a club director, people are thinking like they're losing in business if they allow a customer to kind of stray. And that's a bit of the problem, the issue that I kind of currently see in juniors sports, is that you're losing customers, not players. No matter what you say, you're treating them as customers. And if you treated them as players and you're like, oh, you're taking a private lesson with somebody outside the club, great. What did you learn from them? What are they saying different? We love hearing that. And in the beginning, when I was running Volley Camp Hermosa here in Hermosa, and I heard some of our players were taking a private lesson from somebody else. I was like, "What? Like we're not good enough? Well, what
Yeah.
the heck? We've given you all these hours, extra attention, and now I'm just like, cool. You absolutely should seek out different
Mhm.
coaches. You need to follow some sort of a path for a little while. You can't
Mhm.
try something for a day and say, well, that didn't work, and then eject. But try different coaches, because the combination of them is what's going to bring
Mhm.
power. That's why college coaches and NFL, NBA have coaching staffs
Yeah.
because you want people to hear a series of things, or things said in different ways. But
You know,
I think it's
it's
real tough for a beach volley or any club director really to say, like, yeah, you know what, go ahead, person who might potentially give me $4,000 this year, see if you want to give that money to somebody else. That's a tough pill to swallow,
yeah.
I think, for a lot of
It
directors.
it is, and a lot of the things I tell to them is, if you provide the best product with the best coaching, the best services, the best education, you're gonna be full of kids and people and be looking for more coaches and people to come in. If you stay static in your coaching or static in your development, people are gonna go and look for something else. That's why you're losing kids. So don't look at it as I'm losing kids or I'm losing customers. Take that as a lesson as to how to make your coaching or your club better. So,
Fantastic answer. And
that
we do this in sports, right? It's like, hey, don't focus on the result, focus on the process right now. What are you doing? Is your passing getting better? Okay, you lost that match, but did you pass and set better? Like, because that was your plan this month.
Mhm.
I think that's one of those few things where you take that direct translation from sport into like the business side of it, or the
Yeah.
organizational life side of it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, give the customers what they want. If you go out to the beach and you roll out some 2x2s and you put them in the sand and you get a $10 net at Walmart and you have people draw lines in the sand, they're obviously probably not going to come back and play your next event when you charge them $200 in an entry fee.
Mhm.
But if you charge them $100 and you have pro nets, antennas, the nets are tight across, you have tape lines, you have music, you have ball markers, you have balls, you have everything that you need, people will come back to your event. So
Yes.
you can go cheap and do it. And I look at it in sports, there's a lot of like road races or special events that come up and they see someone has a good idea. Like, look at Color Run. Color Run is a great thing and they had all these things. And the next year there was Color Run, there was Color Me Rad, there was Color Me Bright, Color Me different things. And everyone had a spin-off because they were trying to make it on that thing. So they went into business for 2 years, they made their money, and then they realized that we didn't change anything. Everyone's been to a Color Me Rad or Color Me Race, whatever it winds up being. So now no one wants to do it again. It's a one-time. How often do you want to go get covered in paint? You know, you do it once, like it's fun. Then you bring your friends, and
Yeah,
you're like,
once every 2 years would be enough for me.
you know, that's the thing. But you have to evolve. So the events that are successful, they're constantly evolving, or they're you look at like Tough Mudder or some of these other events that are out there, Rugged Maniac, whatever they call them now. They'll
Mm,
change different ones that are out there, but they're constantly changing their elements. They're changing their skills that are on there. So, one week it may be, a straight across handlebars you have to go down. The next time it's an angle, so it's like a roof.
sure.
So there's always something different. So it's similar, but there's always going to be something new and exciting going on.
It's kind of like
And
the CrossFit games, right? You see
yeah.
they could stick with the same physical and then just have a
Mhm.
race, but just that taste of, they don't know what events are going to be called until they're like at the start line, which is
Yeah.
awesome, crazy, but at least it doesn't provide that stagnancy. So there is that little bit of surprise, something
Yeah.
different.
And it
I,
could be, doing beach volleyball events. It may be just some swag that you're giving out. You have something new this year. So first year you're doing events. Second year you have T-shirts with something cool on it. Third year you have a new T-shirt and just something a little bit different. Or you've updated your net systems, or you updated your antennas or the banners, or you go from the old PVC pipe with the material covering it to A-frames, to even having something as simple as an app to keep scoring. People aren't arguing over it, so it's live streaming. Results are up there. So for kids, grandma and grandpa want to see scores. So if you have a
that's
system that's up there to keep score, so now grandma and grandpa can see it. Or then you start adding your webcams, or you're adding different streams on there, so you're always evolving so people can see, and you make it so everyone is enjoying the sport, but there's always something new. And even if it's, maybe you have a center court and you have someone that can talk and they're announcing as you're doing the live stream, keeping score, someone putting a score on the bottom of it, or, doing something so that people are able to see what's going on. I watch a lot of volleyball from my friends that are playing and former athletes, and you see them on their, they're going Facebook Live or Instagram or Live, and no one knows the score. Someone's inevitably walking in front of them and talking, and then people are hearing rumors and they're making stuff up or something inappropriate. And you're like, oh no, sorry, grandma, grandpa, you're on the beach, we know what happens. Yep. So, how do you fix that? How do you make that better, especially for the kids?
I had two AVP matches taken off of YouTube because 2 separate times at 2 different events, people were talking about some dirty sex stuff. And I was like, wait, what? So I don't have a match filmed anymore? Like, I didn't film my own match because I knew that it would be streaming. And AVP's like, we'll give you the recording on the back end, but we can't post it. And I was like, what? How does this happen?
It happens all the time, and people don't ever think about it. And it's, like when you're doing an events, and, a lot of the adult players, and they go for the party atmosphere and they go for the after party. And we have a lot of events that are sponsored by alcohol or, whatever it winds up being. But you can't put a 12-year-old or 14-year-old on a court sponsored by a local alcohol company. And a lot of tournaments don't think about that. They go out there and go, okay, great, I have this 7-figure sponsorship deal with ABC Alcohol Company. We're just going to put all the nets up. But then you go put a 12-year-old on it, and mom and dad are like, hey, why are my kids playing on the alcohol court? And that's something that as an event organizer, you have to think about and be careful with announcements and careful with appearances. And it's one thing if a 12-year-old kid looks up to some of the pro players, but then the pro players are sitting under the tents, chugging beers in the middle of the event. So now you have a 12-year-old trying to be like a pro player. And like, oh, they're drinking, so when I get to be that old, I can just start drinking. So we have to help, make sure that the image that we're sending is the right image, that we are professional athletes, that we are professional events. We're not just a bunch of people running around in bikinis drinking beer. I mean, that, that's a lot of people see about it, and make sure people are out there doing things. So as an event organizer or as a tournament director, as a coach, I have to be responsible to do that and give that professional appearance. Like one of my pet peeves, and now they're starting to go to it now, is when I'm coaching or I'm running an event or setting up an event, I'm always dressed, shorts, shirt, hat, the whole 9 yards. And I see a lot of these coaches that are going out there, the younger coaches just graduated from school, they're just starting their careers, trying to make extra money, and they're young, they're attractive, and they're coaching 16-year-old girls in just shorts. They don't have a shirt on and they're out there. I understand it's hot, but that appearance is not what we want to give as professional coaches. We want to make sure that we're giving that we're a professional coach. You don't see an NFL coach in the middle of the field with the shirt off in the summer conditioning. You don't see that in the gym. If the AC goes out, the coach is out there, he's, oh man, just, running out there. Just, be professional for that hour or two you're doing it. When you're playing, go and do what you want, but set that professional appearance. So if you're a tournament director, have your shirt on, have things that are there. A lot of times I have a big funky hat. A lot of people have seen. Yes, it's keeping sun off my head, but it's also so people can find me. Because how many times have you been a tournament director and you're like, where is so-and-so? I need a rules interpretation.
Yeah, look for the pink flamingo. Yeah.
Whatever it winds up being. Look for the guy in the big blue hat, or look for the guy in the bright yellow shirt, whatever it winds up being. So stand out and be professional so people know where you are. And so you're available to be there when things go on. Because, we go to events and a lot of people, play in the AA or the A events. And besides the pro events, what's their single limb, double limb, the brackets are drawn out. But if you're playing pool play and there's 10 sets of pools that are going on, if you finish at 1 o'clock, you need to know when the other pools are done, because you may be early, other people may be late. And if your tournament director is off hanging out doing something, people get mad. We've all been there, and it's like, why can't you stay under the tent? What do you have to do?
A real pet peeve with, I've always said this, and I'll say it again, like, you need a tournament director who's willing, not is, but willing to be a jerk. Because especially with this year it happened on the AVP as well, but like a lot of the regional tournaments, the tournament director is usually friends. They see the people every weekend, so there's this little thing, and they'll go and they'll say, hey, let's get these matches. Let's get them rolling. And that's it. That's all the push that they'll give. And then
Yeah.
pool play lasts until 3 p.m. And then that means, we're negotiating who should finish first or second at the end of the day
Yeah.
because there's no sunlight. And it's somebody needs to be in charge at every tournament of saying, you start now
Yeah.
or you're playing to 11. You don't start in 5 minutes. You don't get to sign up for a month. Period.
Yeah.
Like everybody on this court won't get signed up. But I it's tough to be a jerk.
Yeah.
But
And
somebody has to do it to keep the tournaments going, because it gets harder, honestly, as an adult. It gets harder to negotiate the rest of your life and your relationships and your kids and marriage and boyfriends, girlfriends, when you say, yeah, I'm going to leave at 6 a.m. today. I probably won't be back till 10 p.m. because I have a fun hobby tournament. Can't this thing take 7, 8, 9 hours instead of, dark till dark?
Yeah, I mean that. And how many times have you gone to an event where like, okay, first serve's 8 a.m. and they don't have the captain's meeting at 8:30, and we've all been there, and then it's 9:15, 9:20 before the first serve is going, and then the end of the day, it's like, oh, we're in the semis, but it's dark. Well, you're waiting for players to show up, or someone calls and says, oh, I didn't realize this, or I didn't realize that. I'm sorry, I'm on my way. Just play other matches. No, you're up. You forfeit. And a lot of people got mad at me over the years because players meeting 7:45. It's 7:45. Play starts at 8. I don't care if you're ready or not. We're playing, and it's a minute a point because we got things to do.
I blame the culture for that because it's become so acceptable in so many different parts of the country, right? It's like, oh yeah, players meetings at 8. We won't get started till 9:15 because people allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
But if you get one serious stern text and email saying, this is not a joke, you will lose points if you are not started by 8 a.m. We're not messing around this time. Like,
but you
few people will test that, and then you go hard at them once. And then everybody knows for the rest of the summer. And then you can actually, be an organizer instead of somebody who puts out nets.
Yeah. And you've got to make sure that you're doing things, doing seating correctly and doing pools fairly where you're using. There's so many point systems that are out there now. There's AVP points, there's USA Volleyball points, there's all these point systems. And as tournament director, your job is to go look at these points and seed people accordingly, not seed people because your friends get an extra better seed or someone is helping set up the tournament so they should have an easier match or two or whatever it winds up being.
So bonkers to me.
It's there. And I mean, my personal biggest pet peeve is when tournament directors are playing in their own events. Because if you're playing in your event and you're playing pro event or, a small event and there's one court and you're playing, that's one thing. But when you're playing in an event and you have B, double B, A, double A juniors, and those pools get done, but you're playing, who's finishing those pools? Why should the people who are paying money to play in your event have to sit around and wait because you're too busy playing? Or if you pause your match to go deal with the pools, what does that tell your opponents who now have to sit around and re-warm up or stay warmed up or do whatever it is? And we see it a lot of times. It's like, if you're a professional organizer of an event, do your event. You don't have to play. If you want to play.
I mean, I can't fully, 100% agree with you there, because some people need to be the organizers because they so desperately want a good place to play. So they see problems or they'll see a lack of events and they're like, man, I want to play in good events. You know what? I'm just going to run it. And they have to find a way. But I will say that if you're a tournament director or you're just you still want to play in that tournament, you just have to assign somebody to be your seat at that tournament and say, hey, you got to make sure you're running the boards. You got to make sure you're doing this. And that takes $10 an hour. College kids, free entry into the tournament. Gav used to, maybe still does do that up in New Jersey, where they say, like, hey, if you come and you set up all the nets in the morning before the tournament, you don't have to pay for the tournament. That's something. But to give people a cold, hard line saying, if you're the organizer, you can't play in it. Some people in some parts of the country, they're the only person passionate enough, organized enough to sport to actually start that. So, you
can do that, but if you have that tournament director in place, you can be the organizer and the person going out there, but there needs to be someone at the desk. And if you're organized enough to have everything set out ahead of time, like when I set a tournament up, I know what's going to happen. As soon as pools go out, I'm pulling pool sheets, I'm pulling bracket sheets. I know what playoffs are going to happen, and everything is laid out. So if I'm not there, whoever I have assisting me or helping me, go, okay, pool A first goes here, second goes here, third goes here. And as soon as everything is done, then they know exactly where to go.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it that way, so if someone's there, you can be the organizer, but not be tournament director or tournament staff. So you're promoting
Yeah,
and
two
doing
different.
it.
Okay, two different
I'm
positions.
sorry if I misspoke earlier, but that's kind of what I was getting at. There
I
needs to
like
be
that.
someone there, whether even if it's a mom or a dad or your mom or dad, someone out there, significant other, someone out there to do it who you trust to not mess things up and not be influenced by somebody else.
Mhm.
Because how many times have there's been people are going out there and throwing matches for points so they get an easier bracket seed. I've seen people,
Yeah.
out there and are like, well, hey, I have to figure out, okay, we're going by points. We're seeding by points. So he had 15 points. I know I can give up 14. So once I get to there, I got to score 14 points, whatever it is, I can give up. So they get to those points and then they're like, okay, good. And they're throwing matches as to what happens. And to me, I'm like, that's not cool. Just play and deal with it. It's, I understand it, people trying to do things, but when you're getting that gung ho into it, it's a little bit different,
Craig, is there anywhere where it's written down that is outside of an organization or it's for sale? And if it's not, Better at Beach is going to make it. But a step by step, this is exactly how you run a tournament. Here's a list of the current, the potential problems that are going to come. Here's how you sort it out. Here's what happens if you have a 4-team pool tournament and there's, one 3-team pool, and this is how you do it. Is there anywhere that has a booklet of the world's former problems running tournaments that offers all the solutions?
I haven't seen one book per
We're on
se.
it.
It's
Hey,
there.
do you want a third job?
Yeah, there is. Oh, fifth
'Cause
job. Yeah, I'll take that. I'd be happy to do that.
we can make a
But
product together.
it's there, and and for there's lots of things that are out there. Like there's a company called Bracket Pal which does a lot of juniors events, and you put teams in, and you tell it what you want, and it spits everything out for you.
Okay.
And does everything online, which is great. But the problem is people don't understand why things go certain ways. So they don't understand why things are changed or how stuff is done, or even cross pooling so that you don't play someone that you played in pool in the first round or second round of playoffs. And some people go, well, we're just going to go seeds. We're going to reseed everybody at points and everyone's going to get redone and
That's
go
a
through
nightmare.
there.
No, and then players hate that.
And everyone hates it, but people do it because someone says that's the way to do it. But where everything's drawn out ahead of time, hey, this is what we're doing. It's cross pooling. You shouldn't see anybody till it's there. And it's good until someone loses a seed. Like we've all played in the double elimination bracket where a higher seed loses and then you drop down to the losers bracket or challengers bracket, contenders bracket, whatever they call it now. You wind up being the same team you played earlier in the day and you lost to. And you're like, why am I playing them now in the contenders bracket?
Yeah.
Well, they didn't hold seed or someone did, whatever it winds up being. So there's always that perfect world if everyone holds seed. And you have to explain that as tournament director, this is the way we do things. Or, there's been events, especially when I was running EVP, we had a point system that was there and everyone came in and we attempted to seed everybody by points. But because we were traveling tour, some of our teams that traveled got a ton of points. So they were the first seed that was there. So I came up with a seeding system saying, okay, our first and second seed is going to be our EVP points, our tour series points leaders. Okay. 3 and 4 was opened up for international players or, someone else who's in the field. Okay. And then kind of going down or some different areas that were there, because if I knew that my number 2 seed was not a very good seeded event and I could look at my seeds and go, okay, my number 2 isn't very good, but I have, Phil and Todd coming in who haven't played before. They're probably the best players in the world. And I look at my bracket and they go, well, Craig, why did you seed them 15? They're the number 2 team in the world. Well, they're going to play my second seed. So they're going to take over that second seed. So I'm not killing my first seed who's loyal to the tour.
Oh, wow.
Now it's going in there, but that's me being interesting and attempting to make it so after the first round or second round, my seeds are where they need to be. And I pull, the people that are out there that are going to be, my number, the best team that comes in and say, hey, I understand you guys are good. Don't take your seed as a slap in the face. This is not this way. I'm fixing my tournament for that second round, and it's different. And people come up and they yell and scream and I go, there's madness, there's a method to the madness, but you've got to look past that and look through and mess things up that are different or out there just to make your event fair later in the day, and a lot of times when, on those traveling tours, those 1 or 2 seeds are your friends. They just play in all the events and you're like, hey, sorry, you have to play the team from Brazil that came over to play today who has a silver medal in the Olympics. Sorry. They're going to be there, but I don't want to also, offend my number 1 team on tour who travels and pays and goes all over the place and plays, exclusively with us, because there's something to be said for that. The loyalty of people going, because playing beach volleyball is expensive. I mean, when you're starting up, there's a lot of money between airfare, hotels, food,
traveling to play beach volleyball.
And there's a lot of
in itself.
Playing, but, traveling and getting there, and there's a lot of people who pay $600-$700 a weekend to travel for an airplane ticket and make $500 and come home and are like, hey, I want a tournament. Like, yeah, well, you're down $200. I mean, we've all been there. You're paying to be a pro. You're like, how am I broke? I've won all these tournaments, but you're like, well, I've, plane tickets are there, or you miss a plane ticket, or, a lot of people or younger people wind up being a bartender or waiting tables because that's quick, easy money. But you're playing on Friday and Saturday when you're making your money. So, or getting back, or if you don't qualify and you still have to change your airline tickets, there's another $200 or whatever it winds up being to change the airline ticket. So
this is why I had a big problem with the AVP's schedule this year. We just got another email that was like, hey, we just ran the largest event series that we have in the last 12 years, and they ran more events, but there wasn't like more prize money.
No.
It was the same amount of available prize money in the country that there always has been. Like, you can go to Pennsylvania, take down a grass tournament every weekend and do better financially than if you took a 5th every single AVP. The way they're touting is that they have more events, but what they've created is the necessity to go to lower level events because of the point attribution. And then you're taking everybody who's got a job that actually pays them something, the 3, 4, maybe 5 days that you need to work or you need to be with family. Now we've almost doubled that. So you're taking away all the opportunity cost where all those other weekends used to be able to pay for the other 7 like real or higher level events. So I disagreed and still disagree with the structure that was laid out for the AVP this year. I hope it's going to get fixed. They did just cancel another tournament or postpone it, the Clearwater one in Florida, which is, everybody had the schedule. They had the Atlantic City one. They canceled that. They postponed it. Now they're postponing Clearwater. So I'm hoping that I'm worried that Bally's is going to bow out. And say maybe this wasn't such a viable purchase.
Yeah, I mean, and what people don't realize about like event organizers, like I'll give you an example: an event in Chicago on North Avenue Beach. It's a great venue; everyone is there. What people don't realize is the permit fee is $10,000 a day, and
minimum,
whether
right?
you're
that seems cheap.
That's minimum. So it's there. So that's just the minimum. If you want signage, it's X amount of dollars per sign, and it winds up going there. But if you're running like AVP goes in, they have set up for 6 or 7 days beforehand. And then they have the 4 days of events and then, 3 days of teardown. So that's almost 2 weeks that they're on the beach. That's $140,000 out of their pocket that they don't get back before they've done an entry fee, before they built the sands, before they paid for officials, before they did anything. And the average person doesn't realize that, you run 10 events, you have $1 million in permit fees. And in some places,
we're not yet talking about transportation to get sand, into some parking lots, like the trucks that you need to bring in, the people that you need to actually help build the stadium. It's an expensive endeavor.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just the permits. And then in some places in Florida, there's other permits you have to find out with sea turtle nest.
Yeah.
So, a local organizer, I have to meet with the Sea Turtle Patrol and get their clearance at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning before players can go on the beach.
Do you wear your Ninja Turtle costume just to vibe with them?
We did an event. I did an event in Naples, and we built out in front of this place. We had our pole set up, and center court was right in front of this restaurant bar that had sponsored the event. Well, overnight, a turtle came and laid its nest right in the middle of center court. We had to move our courts outside of this person who paid us pretty good money to be there, but we had to move everything away from the restaurant, away from the seating, because a turtle put a nest there overnight. And it sounds really weird, but beach people go, okay, I understand, they're endangered species, we're gonna move that. As an organizer, I was like, are you kidding me? I show up at the beach at 4:30 in the morning and I see turtle tracks, and I'm like, all right, do I cover these tracks with a rake before Turtle Patrol sees it? Not worry about it.
Yeah.
Or do I do what's right and start moving nets? And that's hard because the sponsor was really mad because he had people coming to his restaurant, and now people have to walk down the beach 100 feet, but in front of someplace else. Those are things that we have to take into consideration that people don't realize, or ticketing fees, or all these behind the scene things, like you said, shipping in equipment, or paying for the truck drivers. Truck drivers are expensive in the gas, and you got to put them in a hotel room. Those things start to add up, and the staff and the behind the scene players, you've got a lot of stuff that has to get there, and things inevitably get lost. We've all dropped keys in the sand, and it disappears. Imagine having to take apart bleachers and all those little screws and nuts and bolts. They fall in the sand, so you're constantly having to replenish them, and they've got to be galvanized because they're expensive, because if you don't, they rust because they're in the salt air all the time. So there's a lot of hidden expenses that people don't realize, and it's tough to do it. So you've got to do it right, and that's part of the behind the scene things that as an event organizer I have to think about, and go do, and we look at the old pictures. I got a picture in my office of Manhattan Beach from 1970. There's not a bleacher in sight. People are sitting on top of poles, and they've kind of, it's like old school, there's 3,000 people there, and they're all just surrounding center court. That's not a bad thing, but in today's world, people want to see the bleachers, and they want to get up higher and do some of those things.
More professional. Yeah, I wonder why you go for that. The big giant stadiums. Is it because it looks more professional? So maybe like the sponsorship and the TV appearance is better. But I mean, when you look at a surfing competition who's still got a great loyal following and big companies with lots of money behind them. I mean, you see one set of bleachers, they do set it up, but the camera never touches on these bleachers. It's always on the water. So you wonder, like, are we spending all of this money with the stadiums? Is it unnecessary because the action that you're actually seeing is just on the court? I wonder if they would try that one year. Like, don't build a stadium, don't build bleachers. Have the companies bring their own tents. Okay, it might look less professional while you're there, but for TV appearances, do you really care that it looks professional, or do you care that the most people have the best time and that you can actually create a sustainable?
I mean, and with technology, with TV appearances, you can put a bunch of green banners around the court, not have any logos on them, and they can get put in by TV.
Oh, wow.
There and do those things. So it's like if you watch an NFL game on TV, or you do something else, if you're looking at the NFL field and watching the game on your phone, the colors are different that are out there. There may be a brown patch on the field, but technology has made it green. And a lot of companies will put different signage up where it's a blank thing, but they put technology over it. Like if you watch tennis, if you ever watch a lot of tennis matches, they have different logos on the courts at different times. If you're sitting in the stands, you don't see it, but that's just superimposed on TV with technology. So can we do that for beach volleyball for TV? And, or are we doing it for people walking by? And I remember when I worked for CBVA, we had to go and basically count the number of people who walked by in a 10-minute window, multiply that by 6, multiply that by 8 hours for the number of days. So we'd have the number of walk-by impressions for our event. And, are they really valuable, or is it really TV market? That's something we have to decide as volleyball people. What makes the most sense?
And are we at the point yet where we can use the facilities that are popping up everywhere? We used to have to like make sure that it was on beaches, and then we were just like, all right, well, now we need the parking and everything, so we have to create. All right, you do have to find a place that's going to have parking, right? That's got to be automatic. But do we have to go to these big beaches, the big areas? Do we have to tow sand in when a lot of facilities are being built and they're planning for massive tournaments? So maybe there's potential for all these facility owners to start running more bigger, different AVP events. And I wonder if you build it with that in mind. So there's Volleyball Ozark in Missouri. They built this 10-court beautiful facility, and they decided to put a giant bubble over it for the summer and the winter because it was too hot and too cold. And That facility is beautiful. We ran a clinic there, and it was gorgeous. So high, so much
Yeah.
room, so much space. But they said, we had to have enough courts so that the AVP would allow us to run some major events, and that was
Mhm.
important to us. So for
Yeah.
anyone thinking about those facility options, think about where you might want to go, and you have to be able to plan for that. So you might need some extra land. You might say like, well, how do we fit 10 courts instead of 8?
Yeah.
Because is there a minimum to run an international event or a national like USA Volleyball
Mhm.
Juniors event?
Or how do you pay for that facility the other 50 weeks when the AVP isn't there? How do you do that? And, we've all known the beach volleyball players. Are they going to pay $50 an hour to come play inside or $40 an hour to play inside? Or are they going to go down to the beach where it's free?
Right.
And because you have to, the best way I can tell people to think about it is if you have an indoor facility, when you get home from the beach and you jump in the shower, the bottom of your shower is full of sand. When you run an indoor facility, all that sand is going home from your facility. So you now have to replenish that sand, and that gets super expensive. Plus, you have to water it down or else it gets dusty. So then your water bill is high, and everyone's using the restrooms or washing their hands, the air conditioning or the heating. There's a lot of expense that people don't realize that goes into like, it's just sand in a building. How hard can it be? If you don't
And
have
everybody
drainage,
sues you in 30 years because there's dust
yeah,
in their lungs from spending 5 days a week in your
yeah.
facility. That's
Yeah, and
something
they're
else
trying
to
to
think
pay
about.
$20 an hour, $25 an hour to play, or as an event organizer. And when I ran Tidewater Volleyball, a lot of people got upset because I'd run 4s and 6s leagues a lot of time on the sand, simply because I can make money on the sand. 2s people, they're not going to, they're paying $20 a person. So if everyone pays $20 a person, that's $40 for doubles. But now I'm making $120 on a 6s team.
Times that. Yep.
So, and people are playing, and it may not be the prettiest volleyball, but as an organizer,
Keeps
I
the
have to
lights
figure
on.
out ways to, get the lights on. I'm sorry, and do different things, but
This
it's,
is something that twos players, beach volleyball players, and open level players
yeah.
never understand. That the
Mhm.
rest of the tournament, everybody else there
Mhm.
subsidizes you.
Yep.
Most open levels, open tournaments, you're just there for show. You are the smallest collection of players. Like to be at that
Mhm.
level, the highest level, it's usually the smallest collection of
Yeah.
players, or what we call like bottom of the funnel, basically, or top of the food chain. But
Yeah.
there can only be a few small people that exist at that level, and you say you want more money. You say you want this, and hey, you don't pay for this.
No.
Every BAAA player where you see a much larger field because it's more inviting, and
Mhm.
they don't beg for a $5,000 paycheck, right? They're
Yeah.
stoked to take home a beach chair and an umbrella. But
Yep.
open players need to hear this again and
Mhm.
again and again. Like, hey, it's not about you. And I think tournament organizers, I actually talked to somebody in the Northeast, and he was like, how do I get bigger players to my tournaments? How do
Mhm.
I create more prestige? And I go, if you want to make it sustainable, ignore that completely. Don't invite big names. Don't
Mhm.
try to push and collect money to give it away to an open player. Instead, make the event so fantastic and
Mhm.
enjoyable for everybody else that they'll keep coming back. So
Yeah.
if you were to focus specifically just on like making money or making a sustainable event, honestly, the first thing to go would be the open level,
Yeah.
because they're pickier, they're greedier, they expect more, and you have to give them money. And it's so I told that tournament organizer, I go, don't try to pull in any pros, don't bother with that. I go, take that money that you would pay them, pay for a
Mhm.
DJ,
Yeah.
right? Pay for like better shirts that people are going to wear at the bar instead of just wiping their sweat with and never wearing again. There are
There's
ways to do it.
one of the things I think you'll appreciate is someone told me a long time ago in sports marketing, there's great money in bad sports.
Yes.
Which sounds really weird, but you run a juniors tournament. If you run it at the elite level, those teams always travel. They know what's going on. They're not buying t-shirts. They're not buying merchandise. They're not going out. They're kind of in a rhythm. But if you run it for a lower level tournament, those teams that are coming in, this is their one event they play all year. This is their one big tournament they're going to, or two big tournaments they're going to. They're going to buy an event shirt, whether it's $15 or $20.
Yep.
They're going to buy merchandise. They're going to take pictures and and put it on social media. They're going to spread the word and they're going to come back. So, you put those events on and you cater to them and treat them great, they're going to come back. When I run my events and I run juniors, when I was doing events in Hampton, Virginia and Virginia Beach, we did, men's and women's on Saturday, but Sunday we did co-eds, fours and juniors. But my juniors, I always kept my center court open towards the end of the day, and my 12s, my 14s, my 16s, my 18s, their finals, we put on center court.
Great.
So, and we announced their matches, and some of them were scared out of their minds when they hear their name for the first time, or, like a big kill, a serve, blah, blah. But they loved it and got used to it. And that's why they fought to come back, was say, hey, if we win, we can play on center court where the pros played the day before.
I had this exact conversation this summer, because at every AVP Tour stop, I forget the tiers, but every AVP, I think it's Tour stop, you had these giant juniors events. So in Atlantic City, you had it. I think in Virginia Beach, they had it. And there's one more place where I was like, where are all the juniors going? Because their massive tournament, finished before the pros got there. And so their parents, who got real jobs and actually have to pay for stuff and don't want to pay $400 a night for a hotel, they leave. So you brought all the kids there, our future fan base, and it should be current fan base. And then you design everything so that they're gone when the pro event starts. Yeah. In my mind, I was like, hey, what if you guaranteed that the champions, like you're saying, they played the first set of their championship on center court in between some pro matches? Now the kids stay. Now their parents stay. Now, like, maybe they get on that giant live stream that the AVP is hosting, and the shareability of all of that could be massive. But instead they were leaving, and then the pros were showing up, and so there was no interaction. Like, literally, people were running to the airport, and they would come over like, Mark, your YouTube channel, like, hi, Mark, can we get a picture? And I was like, aren't you staying for the tournament? They said, no, we just finished 4 days of volleyball. I was like,
I mean, one of the great things I think that golf does, which, I think we can learn a lot from golf, and sports are similar in the way their athletes are treated and, individual stuff. But golf does, they do pro days beforehand, or, you pay X amount of dollars and you get to play a round of golf with the pro. So there's 3 people, corporate sponsor, playing with Tiger, playing with Phil, playing with one of the pro players. And one of the things that we did back on EVP, we did corporate challenge. So the Friday before we set up, you probably remember, seeing or hearing about it, but we had corporate teams come out and they sponsored, paid X amount of dollars, but they got to play with one of our pros. And we kind of handpicked some of our pros who were friendly, who were nice, who didn't think they were better than everybody else, I can't be bothered with that.
The personality guys.
The personality people. And those people love playing with the pros, had fun. We got on, we announced, we had a good time. But the next day, all those people that played in the corporate challenge came back and watched the pros. And the pros were like, hey, thanks for coming out. These are my partners from yesterday. They gave them hugs or high fives, depending, whatever it was, when they went up and they talked to their friends and they went and interacted with the people. And a lot of times you see pro athletes who are not, especially, the ones that think they're pros, they don't talk to the average person walking down the street. They don't go do those things, or they don't know who those people are. Like, I can tell you a great story. This is one of my favorite ones. I worked at a club. My club director loved Karch Karai. She said, if he ever becomes single, I will marry him. He he thought he was the greatest thing. And we went to NCAAs, and we were, I was coaching clubs. So we went together, doing the AVCA thing, and Karch comes walking down the street, and I've known him for working with USA Volleyball. And he's like, hey, Craig. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And I knew that our club director loved him. And she's just looking at it, and she had no clue that was Karch Karai. He's in street clothes, and we're just talking and blah, blah, and hey, I'll see you later.
Karch, he wasn't wearing a pink hat.
Yeah, exactly. And so she goes, who is that guy? You didn't introduce me. And I'm like, well, I thought you knew who it was. She was like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, that was Karch. She goes, no, it wasn't. And I'm like, come on, we're going inside the gym to watch practice. He's going to be down on the court. So we went inside, and sure enough, there it was. And she lost her mind. Oh my God, that was Karch. I met him. And I was like, well, yeah, we don't know, we don't know who the players are outside of seeing them on the court. You see them, you see some of the players, you're like, oh, wow, they're tall. But, if you see, Brooke Sweat, who's an Olympian, she's 5'6", 5'8", looks like an average person walking down the street. She doesn't look like a volleyball player. Mm-hmm. Or you see something like the Lindquist sisters back in the day, who are playing,
anybody. I mean, really, anybody. Like, there's a few people that are kind of unmistakable. Like, but even, Phil, like, if he's walking down the street, it's not like
Yeah.
people are stopping him and waving him down. He's like, oh,
No.
there's a tall ball guy.
I mean, it's, Lloyd, I've done a lot of events with Lloyd Ball, and we'll be out at night and we'll be at a restaurant and people won't know who he is. They're like, who's that really tall guy? I'm like, probably the greatest setter to ever play, 4-time Olympian. They're like,
Right.
he's not an Olympian. I'm like, yes, he is.
Yep.
We can do it. But, that's part of our issue is some of our greatest athletes, people don't know who they are.
Mhm.
They can't figure out who is the best player, who is the people they're rolling to, and which we can do a better job of, I think, as volleyball people and promoters, and doing
We're
meeting
micro
and
famous.
yeah, we're micro famous in our own little world,
Yeah.
but it's you have one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and no one knows who it
Yeah.
is. Even different people, indoor players, and I ask my kids now. When I coach indoor, I'm like, name someone who's an Olympic indoor volleyball player,
Thank you. That
and
needs to happen. There needs
they
to be
don't.
a hero, somebody to
Yeah,
look up to if you're going to emulate or grow in the sport, like somebody who you're going to watch and study and learn from.
yeah,
That
and figure out who it
every
is.
club coach in the entire country, if not world, should be making that mandatory. Like you
Yeah.
need to pick a favorite player and watch them and go like watch 3 of their matches and come tell me what they did so well. But
Or even on
they
even
don't
on the
even know
guy
the names. Yeah.
on the guy side, like, who's the head coach of the men's national team? Name one of the players. Gabby Reese. No, she's been retired for years.
20 years. Yeah.
Maybe that's who they know. Oh, the girls that were in the Visa commercial, when Carrie and Misty were in the
Mhm.
Visa commercial. So that's kind of, they know that, but they don't know who they are. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're our club players. You're the better players, and you don't know who the people you should be looking up to are. That's a problem.
I want to be before I run out of time with you because
Yeah.
I want to basically get a course from you while we're on it, and I think this would be super valuable for a very small section of the people who are listening. But I'd like to go with you and see if we can explore from ground zero running an event.
Okay.
So let's say that I want to start a 2-on-2 volleyball tournament.
Mhm.
If I'm starting from zero, I love volleyball. There's some beaches, some sand courts around me at different parks, whatever. If you could take me through like a step by step, and I'll ask some annoying questions. I think if we equip people with this and kind of demystify some of this, that this episode has the potential to really help grow the sport, exponentially,
Yeah.
because people will actually they'll look at the steps, they'll say, I could do this step by step, and there'll be a little less fear because when you think about an event and you think about 200 nets set up and 800 people signing up and websites and all that, all of a
Yep.
sudden you get freaked out and you don't even take a single step forward. So maybe if we can go through a couple beginner steps, like how to create a volleyball tournament for beginners.
Yeah.
What would their first step be if they have some volleyball friends, they like volleyball, and
Yeah.
let's just say that there's some sand courts maybe in a park or there's a beach near them.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing would be is find a location. If it's at a beach or at a park, you find a location, do your homework and figure out what it takes to use that space. And I mean, use that space legally, which is difficult because you go to a park and like, oh, we can go tournament there. Well, no, you have to have a permit. You have to do this. You have to do that. So,
Okay.
figure out where you want to go. So if you want to go to a park, and have an event, reach out to the Parks and Rec department and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about doing an event at your park. What permits or fees or what do I need to do to be able to use your courts and reserve them for the day I'm thinking about doing it?
And then
So,
there's usually a website, right? So like if I'm in Timbuktu, Ireland, I'm going to look at Timbuktu Parks and Recreation
yeah,
and Google that and try to find a permit number or
yeah, permit
call
or
any phone number because it's the
yeah,
office. Like don't be
yeah.
shy about calling a number and them
Yeah.
saying, oh no, but let me transfer you.
Yeah, call the number. And like where I work, when in my current Parks and Rec job, I get calls all the time for people wanting to do things. So, and I tell people I'm happy to help you make these things happen, but there's certain steps you have to do it. And so first one is find location. And then second one is check the calendar and see what else is going on. Because if you want to have an event, but there's 5 other beach volleyball tournaments within 30 minutes of your event, you're diluting the pool of people, potential players.
Yep.
So check the calendar, see what's going on. And then once you do it, then you figure out what it's going to be and start planning for it ahead of time. What do you need? Do you need nets? Do you need lines? Do you need antennas? Do you need volleyballs? Or
What
are
do
you
you
going to
think
make
is a good time runway? Like
Um,
how much should I definitely give myself or maybe what's the minimum amount of time that you think you would need to really get things in place?
to do it right, at least 2 months. Some places take 60 days before permits are even looked at or reviewed in some cities and places.
Hermosa doesn't do it. I think it's a full year. Like you have to reserve court time a full year in advance.
Full year. I think Chicago, there's one day in November you have to wait in line, and it's just first come, first serve. So people are waiting in line in snow and sand. I've been in that line. It's awful. It's raining and cold, and you're waiting in line to get in and get your spot on North Avenue Beach. So there. So figure out, what it takes to do that. Find your date, and then the best thing to do, get the word out that's there and figure out what you're going to run. Are you going to run doubles? Are you going to run fours? Are you going to run adults? Are you going to run juniors? What do you want to do at this event? What do you want to accomplish? Is this a fun fours tournament? Is it a serious twos? How are you going to do it? Is it going to be pool play? Is it going to be double elimination? Is it going to be single elimination, and coming up with those formats for it's going to be there? Because what that's going to do is, if you have a location in a format, that can give you your maximum number of teams you can have at your event.
Well, so I'll ask this. Should I get as many people as I can, or should I know the answer for our company. Like, we set hard numbers because I don't want to deal, like, for our camps right now, we set it at a max of 60. Are we going to grow beyond that? Yes, we will. But 60 says, all right, we need 10 coaches. Done. All right. At least now the hiring part of that is taken care of. I know how much stuff I need, instead of, if you leave it open, 20 people sign up the last day and you're like, shoot, now I'm negative 3 or 4 coaches, or you're negative 3 or 4 nets. To me, I think it's important to set the format and to say, we're only allowing this many spots. But what do you, you have a different experience.
I'm a firm believer on you set your format and you limit it to that number of teams. I personally don't want to play or run a 5-team pool anyplace because they take forever.
Okay.
So I'm limiting at, I'll do a 4-team pool or I'll do a 6-team pool, but a 6-team pool is going to be 2 3-team pools, kind of going back and forth. So I can get 6 teams on a court in the same space. A 4-team pool will go, is because they both wind up taking 6 hours. Yeah. So it's that time frame to do it. So depending upon it, it's just kind of weird, but that's my tournament director mind going out there. So how can we do that? So if I have 2 nets, I know I only want to take 8 teams. That's my number of teams. I'm going to set the max X. That's 2 4-team pools.
Okay, and then I'll think 4 teams per net. Like, that's how we should be thinking.
Yeah,
because,
that's what
if you're sitting there and you've got a park, that, like, your local park has 2 courts. Am I really going to try to run just an 8-team event? Is there any way to squeeze more into that?
You can do an event. You can get, if you have 2 courts, you can run 12 teams. 4 3-team pools, and you kind of get done that same amount of time. Okay. So you do a pool. So on one court is pool A and B, the other court's C and D. So pool A plays, so 1 plays 2, 3 refs, and then pool B comes and plays 1 plays 2, 3 refs. So either you're playing off, play off. It makes it for sometimes a longer, you have some downtime. Okay. But it's a little bit weird. If you think about 2 3-team pools and just kind of switching back and forth, it's still right. A 3-team pool is 3 hours, a 4-team pool is 6 hours. So it kind of works out that way.
Okay. So we're thinking maximum 6 teams per court. Yeah. If you're considering a twos tournament.
Yeah, a double.
Even fours.
Yeah, or whatever you want to do. Sixes, you can do it. That's the maximum you could be. I would avoid 10 teams because that's just an ugly number. I mean, you can do a 3, 3, and 4. That gives you that 6 in that way. But most people just go 5 and 5 because that's easier in their mind. Okay. But I think what's better for the players. And then, with your format. So here's my format, what I'm going to do, my maximum number of teams. And then what level do I want it to be?
Because set the level. Okay.
At the level, because that's one thing that people have to do. If you have one team that's really good, if you and your guys go play and the other 9 teams are people who have never played before, it's church groups, it's my friends that were just started playing.
People won't come back to your tournament if they're way out of their league either way.
So, and promote it that way. Here's what it is, and whether we have to let some better teams in, we'll play pool, but then we pull them out for playoffs because people want to go from there. So you have your format, and then go publicize it and get it out. Just social media, word of mouth, your friends. Social media is kind of the way of doing things. One thing I like to do is, if you're able to if there's courts that are up there, nets that are up there, and it's at a park and rec, ask them if you can promote your tournament by going and putting a tournament flyer, stapling it to the wooden post that's out there. So go laminate it and say, hey, old school, your people who are playing are your customers. So why not put it in front of them?
I'm also going to add like very specific. So from social media and sales and business standpoint,
Yeah.
people think that they announce something once and they get crickets back. Nobody wants it.
No.
But from sales, like recognition of a brand, and then the comfort of actually signing up for something with them, not even buying, but signing up for something with them,
Yeah.
you need at minimum 7 touches. They need to see you 7 different times
Yeah.
minimum before
Mhm.
they get anything. And there are some studies that are like 7 to 15 times. So, I mean, if you're going to have a tournament, do not be shy. With social media, the way
Yeah.
the algorithms are, you're not going to lose followers or lose friends or annoy people. Trust me, there's enough traffic out there. Post 3 times a day. Copy, paste, post. Copy,
Yeah.
paste, post. And then I think ask people to share. But I'll also say, talk to the club directors, like research juniors clubs in your area and say, hey, I'm running an adults, or I'm running this age or this level tournament. Do you know of anybody who plays? Could I put a flyer up at your place?
Yeah. I mean,
No.
just word of mouth and getting out there and knowing people. If you're and then you want to do it, and part of it is meeting people and going to them and making it easier for them to help promote your event. There's a lot of tournaments where people come and they send it to me and they're like, hey, can you put this flyer up? I don't know who you are, and I'm not going to print it out, and I'm not going to put it up because I don't know who you are. But if you come to me and say, hey, listen, I'm so-and-so and I'm running this event and here's some flyers and this is what we're going to do. Would you mind helping me? I'm more likely to help you than the person who sends me something, hey, promote this on your page.
Right.
And that's me personally, but that's just kind of how I am. I'm big on personal interaction with things.
You walk up to somebody at a bar and you're like, hey, you want to go home with me? Like,
Yeah.
whoa. Who no, you're going to get a glass thrown in your face. So.
And get it out there and word of mouth, get people talking about it and get people out there. The other thing is you have to get somebody to sign up. No one wants to be the first team to sign up.
Okay.
Because you're a tournament director, you get a lot of calls. Well, who's playing? How many teams are already signed up? So get some of your friends to sign up and put that information out there so that it looks like there's teams that are on there. People come in because they see more teams.
The old line outside the club technique.
Just kind of there. So it's there. It's that idea, but don't make up names. Don't put your kids' names on there or your friends' players who aren't, and then swap them out as team goes on because people are going to catch on. Yeah. They're going to go, oh, look, there's Matt and John. They seem to play in every tournament, but I don't know who they are, and go from there. So it's kind of that way. So, get some of the people that want to play, get them to sign up. And maybe if it's the first time, say, hey, listen, you guys are willing to play in this tournament. I need you guys to register, and I'm not going to charge you if you register this first time because
this is what early bird discounts do as well.
Yep.
If you get early people to sign up way in advance, you give them a steep or even some kind of discount or reward. Like, hey, first 4 people to sign up get a ball. Yeah, you're going to maybe lose on those 4 teams, but you'll actually get your event running. Yeah. And that's more important, right?
And my thing is I'm a little different than most people in that I believe in building for the future. I believe that if I can break even or lose just a little bit where I'm not, killing myself or being homeless or sleeping in the car again, I can continue to grow things. And if I do things right and treat my customers well, my events are going to grow and I'm going to make my money off of them.
I think that's a good way to talk to somebody, kind of like the average person. Like, hey, if you were to throw a party or you threw a barbecue, I think different parties in different parts of the country are a little bit different, but I always lose money. When I throw a party, but you don't lose money. I'm comfortable saying, you know what, I'm going to have an awesome time with my friends and family. So I'm going to buy this and this is how much I'm going to, and in the end, so many people come and help you anyway that like they leave, they leave their 3/4 of bottle of vodka and they leave their extra ziti and you're like, oh, well, now I'm out on top because I just paid for a week of eating with all my leftovers.
Week of eating, or that vodka that's left behind is now the seed for my next party. So I don't have to buy as much. So that's kind of, the volleyball tournament is if you do it right, now you have the seed planted, people want to come back and people are going to be there. So you've got to do the things right and don't take shortcuts.
Okay.
That's the other thing. The other thing from my side, from my event side of things, because I've done things besides volleyball, I've done big races and, road races and all kinds of things across the country. You need to make sure that you have some sort of LLC or business entity established when you're doing these things.
So
Because
should this have come before find
well,
a
I would do it
location?
before. I would do it beforehand. If I'm going to be running a tournament, I would have it established. You don't have to. No, you don't have to. But what winds up happening is someone comes to your event and they trip over one of your boundary lines and break an ankle. They can sue you for some reason for the sand not being flat, the sun being in their eyes, them falling down, and they can go after your house, your car, your finances because you're the person in charge. If you have an LLC, spend a couple $100 to make that LLC and run everything through the LLC. Yes, it's a little bit more, but now they can't come after your personal stuff.
Okay. And an LLC, it can be $200 to $300. We don't get any, because
Yeah.
this conversation went wild, which I'm excited about. But if you guys go to LegalZoom,
Yep.
I've built 3 different S corps or LLCs on
Yep.
LegalZoom. It's an easy process. It'll probably take you about 8 days to have a
Mhm.
legit business entity set
Yep.
up, and then it's free to open up a bank account. And then some
Yep.
banks even pay you to open a bank account with them.
Yep.
You get like a $500 bonus for saying,
Yeah.
bring this. So get that LLC, get that S corp.
Yeah.
Some counties, is your county like this, where they give significantly less expensive permit fees to nonprofits?
Yes, 100%. We actually
Okay.
have for our county, if you fill out paperwork, we actually can do a nonprofit waiver. So we can get fees wiped off for some of our nonprofits. So it's zero cost to use the facilities.
Wow.
Particularly if you're aiming towards the residents of that area and providing a service for the residents in the parks, or working with the tour. If your event's growing, work with the tourism office to have them help bring in or find some grant money for some of your bigger events that are coming out there.
So that happened with us as well. We could have, if we had a nonprofit, we could definitely save in a
Yeah.
lot of areas, but we plan on maybe at someday being able to
Mhm.
sell the company.
Yeah.
So we might develop a nonprofit arm that throws tournaments, and then
Yep.
I have a big belief in Big Brothers and Sisters mentorship style
Yep.
charities, so
Yep.
that can feed that. But I think it's a lot more paperwork,
It is.
and you actually have to have a legit vision. And if your vision is
Mhm.
nonprofit that grows volleyball in this area because it increases health, it increases physical
Mhm.
fitness, you're creating a fun place for people to go outside exercise. That's enough for the
Yep.
government to say, "Yep, that is a great mission. Go for it."
And you can have, depending upon where you live, you can have a local nonprofit, a state nonprofit, or a federal nonprofit. So
Oh,
those are also different things that are out there, which I've learned through the years that they
mm,
exist. I didn't know they existed for a long time,
okay.
but you can look into that. And some of it is nonprofit, but you pay tax. Some of it is you don't pay tax, depending upon where it is and where you're going on. If you're a state nonprofit and you go outside of your state, you have to pay tax, but not in the state you're registered in. Federal nonprofits is a little different
Okay.
depending upon the areas.
And
But
remember, a nonprofit can still pay its employees as much as they
yep.
want, can still pay its CEO as much as they
Mhm.
want. You just probably can't sell it on the back end, or
Yeah.
publicly trade it or anything like that.
There's that, and there's rules with nonprofit as far as your board members and having to have an established board of people. You still need some of that with LLCs, but your LLC can be you and like two, you can be a couple different positions on it, or you can be
Yeah,
an S corp and you don't have to worry about it. But a nonprofit, you actually have to do that and file paperwork. Each state is a little different, but
for sure.
just a little more work.
Super
Um,
expensive in California. It's like
yeah.
800, $1,200.
Um,
It's crazy.
yeah.
But
The other thing is
LLC, I'll say, is probably the easiest and fastest thing to set up.
100%.
But non
Yep.
for profit might save you the most money and give you the most advantage
Mhm.
over time.
100%. The other thing is that anytime I do an event, I always have insurance. On a lot of places, you have to have liability insurance to even get the permit or get out there and do the things that you need to do.
Mhm.
And that's just a background. And I'll give you an example. There was an issue with one of my friends who runs a facility, and someone fell in their facility and hurt themselves just
Okay.
randomly. So they got sued, and they were running an event there, but the lawyers didn't want to know anything about the building. They wanted to know the name of the insurance company and the maximum amount of coverage they had. That's what the
Yep.
request was from the insurance from the lawyers. So if you don't have that, the insurance, if you get sued and someone's going after you for $1 million and you don't have the insurance, you're SOL. I mean, you're going to be in trouble, and it's going to cause you issues down the road because you're trying to do something, or it may not be your players. It may be the person walking by who trips over a volleyball down the pathway.
So I'll say for the new people, if you're, watching this and you're like taking these notes and you're saying, all right, well, I got to go through legal, like I got to get a company, I got to get a bank account. The developing a company can literally take you less than an hour if you do it through LegalZoom, right? You just need a name, and they'll handle all of that for you.
Yep.
Getting insurance. We work with, I think it's L. Dean Associates. They do sports camps, sports events, tournaments all across the country. They're nationwide, and you fill out one piece of paper. It'll probably take you 30 minutes, but it says, where are you running? Who are the insured parties? And then it says, how many people do you expect to be there and what ages and what activities? Yep. And then they email you back with, all right, volleyball's a low injury activity, so here's your rates. If you were like sending people into the air with like cheerleading, it would be significantly higher. But that in itself, it'll take you like a half hour to fill out the form, but your total time talking to that insurance company to get that plan, total time invested, I'll say maybe 2.5 hours if you just call them right away. Do you have any recommended insurance companies that have done a good job?
There's a bunch in there. I mean, you can go online, and unfortunately there are a dime a dozen. You're going to get what you pay for. But a lot of people use the USA Volleyball insurance or AAU insurance if you're a membership, but then people have to be members, or even AVP. You can use AVP memberships and get your insurance for the events, but then everyone has to get memberships. So you can
that's another difficult step, which prevents signups. I think that's not your first time. I think you wait.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're doing a tournament for juniors and it's all your kids' friends and they're all playing the same club program together, and you have that, or juniors or adults or whatever it winds up being. But it's you can get insurance for $100, $150, up to more than that for your event. So it's not that big of a deal. Or if you know someone, or call your homeowner's insurance or whoever you have, they may have an umbrella liability policy, and doesn't hurt to ask, because I've done that before with one of my insurance companies. Said, hey, I'm doing an event. Can you help point me in the right direction? I have my car insurance, my homeowner's insurance through you, all these things through you. Can you help me? And they're like, yeah, not a problem. Done.
Oh, smart.
Good. Bundled. It was there. You don't know unless you ask. That's always my go-to thing.
But don't get intimidated by like the insurance thing. Like, it's going to take a phone call, guys, and it's going to take you filling out one page of information about how many people you expect to be there and the activity. So you can move on that, and you can get that done, like I said, in max 2 hours of time investment.
Yeah, if you're going slow and reading everything carefully.
I'm a careful reader. I don't like them getting away with stuff.
You can fly through the pages in 15 minutes online and get insurance if you fill it out. But it's, so you do that. But then, I'm fortunate that I have all my brackets and pool plays and pool sheets and everything already done and figured out ahead of time. But there's all that stuff is online. How to run a tournament. You can look in the USA Volleyball rulebook, and it has the brackets that are in there. So there's 14 pools, 3-team pools, and seeds and everything that's on there.
So there is a place for how to just organize different numbers of brackets tournaments, and that's on the USA Volleyball website.
I believe that's on the USA Volleyball rulebook, or it used to be in the rulebook for information that was on there. And there's plenty of other places. You can Google you can Google pool information. I
hate telling people to Google too often, because then it turns into 30 different links, and then they have to read through 10 paragraphs before they get even the answer because of SEO.
I get it. It's there. Or ask someone. If you know someone like me, I'll give you my pool sheets. Cool. Just because I just here it's not a secret. 1 plays 2, 3 refs, 3 plays 4, and just kind of go through it. 100 different ways to run pools. Anybody's been to a tournament, and I heard the other day they were like, "Oh, you're running an indoor pool on the beach." What are you talking about? Pool versus outdoor pool, because 1 versus 2 is the first one, but it's like, whatever, just get over it, people. Just go play. But it's just kind of there. So you can do that. But the other advice I give people is, if you think it's going to take whatever amount of time you're going to give yourself to set up the event, double that amount of time that you think.
Minimum double.
At least.
Minimum.
Because you're going to get out there and something is going to break. You're going to have an eyeball that's going to be missing a hook, or something is going to be there. So you need at least that amount of time to set up and be prepared.
Or, if you've never set up like a Parkinson net, let's say, go to drive to the place where you're driving to from your car, set a stopwatch, go and set up one net and then set up your tent way in advance,
Yep.
and say, okay, how long did that actually take me? Now, how many nets am I going to need, et cetera? Like, but that stopwatch of knowing that, and then say, also, there's going to be a problem because something's going to break. So, like you said, I think double that stopwatch time for day of tournament.
That, or what happens if it's thundering and lightning when I'm going to set up?
Oh, yeah.
If you live on the East Coast, California, they don't have a whole lot of lightning storms.
No,
Florida,
it gets windy sometimes.
yeah. Florida, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're dodging lightning all day.
Oh.
So you have to schedule your times to do it, or plan and look at the weather, see what it's calling for, and schedule your time ahead of it. And my other big thing with me is I'll get to the beach at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning to set up. So I know everything. I'd much rather be sitting under my tent, drinking my Red Bull, waiting for people to show up, as opposed to be scrambling, trying to figure out last things as people are registering. Parents are wanting to know what court they play on. So I want to be done and waiting for people, not running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
If you don't need a flashlight when you show up, you are there too late to be a tournament organizer director.
You have to. The other thing is, like on the East Coast, if they're in Florida and like from North Carolina south, you can't have a white flashlight on the beach during turtle nesting season.
Oh my God.
That's actually against the law, because you could turtle see the white light. I think it's the moon. One direction. So in some places you have piping plovers. They have a different color. So my headlamp has a red, a green, a blue, and a white. So that depending upon what beach I'm on,
it's funny,
I am legal and don't have the EPA or DEP coming after me, because I've been around and did that. Because the last thing you want to do is you have a white headlamp and someone calls the police because they see a headlamp and the deputy comes over and says, hey, you can't be setting up with the headlamp. And now you're going in the dark. Or, you have birds that are coming at you, or you're waking things, whatever it winds up being. So do what you can and can't do. And the other thing is do a trial run if it's your first time being there. Because if you're going to a park, is there a gate or a lock you have to get through at 4 o'clock in the morning to set up? Because a lot of parks close. Or is the beach parking lot closed and there's a chain across the gate that you've never thought about?
What an important question. Oh, so my goodness.
That's something to do. So go the weekend before at 4 o'clock in the
park.
morning.
We don't open till 7 a.m. Like, what?
Yeah. There's a chain across, or something as simple as, talking to the park about what time do the restrooms open. Because if you're out there at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have your coffee or 2 or 8, depending on who you are, or you have a couple of Red Bulls. It's now 6 o'clock and you're looking around and you have to get rid of your coffee or Red Bulls and the bathrooms are locked. What do you do? Things along those lines, because that's an awful hour waiting to do that on the beach. Or when I ran in Virginia Beach, we didn't have restrooms that were there. There were businesses, but every block had a porta potty that was there. So one of my mainstays in my tournament bag was basically a case of toilet paper, which sounds really weird, but at 3 o'clock at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you have 100 people using one portalet. All the toilet paper is gone, and they're not coming and servicing it to the next morning. So if you have that roll of toilet paper, you're now a hero for a junior or a mom or a grandma that has to go use the porta potty because the toilet paper is out. And it sounds really weird, but those are the things you learn as time goes on. By people going, oh, I can't believe there's not a bathroom here. Or if you're in a park, is there a bathroom, or where is it? Or is there a water fountain? Or some of the things with like sand volleyball that people don't ever think about is, how hot does the sand get in the middle of the day? We did an event in West Virginia and they had a darker colored sand there. And at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, people were getting 2nd-degree burns on the bottom. They're blistering their feet.
Same thing happened at a pro event this year for AVP. And no one was selling sand socks. And you had pro guys who the bottoms of their foot were wrecked for weeks.
Been there. So West Virginia, we didn't have sand socks. So I asked the local, I said, hey, does anybody know a firefighter? And they're like, why? And I'm like, can they come hose down the court? Firefighters were bored. They came back. They got the fire truck, put the ladder up. They got to show off for the public. And they were, spraying the courts. And they had little kids running out there having a good time.
That's
with
such a brilliant solution. I would have never thought. I come from a firefighting family, and I would have never thought like, well, let's call the FDNY. Like maybe they'll hose it down for us.
They might, or a lot of times if they have provisionary firefighters, they need hose time, or they need equipment to go out there. They need to use the hose. So why not have
a training drill for a volunteer
Exactly.
fire department, something like that.
Yeah.
That's training. Hey, like,
And
let's
it's
get the hose off the truck. Let's, hook it up. And what if we had a beach fire? This could be a training.
yeah.
Your tournament could be a training event for local fire
It
department.
it could be a brush fire. Here's a brush
Yeah.
fire. How many times does, California, you have brush fires. Here's your response to come out and put out the hills on fire or
Hmm.
get your equipment that's out there. And the firefighters like it because now they're heroes and everyone's out there, and they get to see. And then you invite, hey, why don't you guys come down and hang out on center court and watch? Or, if you set it up, say, hey, come hang out, meet some of our players, or you guys want to play later, we'll set up a place for you guys to play. Or, here's some whatever it winds up being. I got some water. You guys want some water, Gator, whatever it winds up being.
Mm.
Thank the firefighters. Or if you have extra shirts, go to the firehouse afterwards and say, hey, thank you guys for coming out. Here's some tournament shirts. Here's some swag.
Guys, do that anyway. Go to your local fire department. Go to your local police department and say, guys, thanks. Here's a shirt. Here's a basket of fruit. Here's a rack of ribs. The FDNY gets to experience that sometimes.
Yeah.
But man, for those people, anybody in the service, I don't care if you're a tournament organizer or not. Go and do something nice for somebody who puts their life on the line for you.
And the other thing is don't forget about the people that are super important. I always look at it as who can shut me down if I make them upset. If you
Yeah.
don't care the fire department, you got to take care of the fire department there, fire department, police department, take care of those, those people. Take care of the lifeguards. Even a quick mention saying, hey guys, thanks for being on the beach. Thanks for keeping everybody safe and going on.
Yeah.
Because if you've been around volleyball long enough, you're going to see a rescue. You're going to see something happen. Someone has a heart attack on the sand court. First people to get the lifeguards. Make sure they know what's going on before your tournament. Go ask the head lifeguard, hey, is there an AED here? If someone has a massive heart attack, who's my quickest response time to do that? And people don't think about that, but I always find the lifeguard, hey, where's your closest AED?
Yep.
It's better for me to come get you, call 911, what is it, and take care of them. The other people never think, and they always take advantage of, the guys who pick up the trash. The guys that come and empty the trash cans, the sanitation department. We all see them driving up and down the beach.
Yep.
Take 2 seconds to say, hey, man, what size shirt do you want? Here's a shirt. Your courts will be leveled. Nothing will get ruined. The trash will be picked up. They'll come by and pick it up, and you thank them and know their names and shake their hands and say thank you. And don't, hey, wait a minute, and throw trash in there. If you have a bag of trash and you're coming by in a truck, go over, throw your trash in the truck.
Yeah.
It's
say,
a little
thanks,
bit
man.
of thing.
Absolutely.
Hey, you're out here busting your tail. We'll help. At least I can do is help you. I'm not going to give you more work. I'm going to hopefully make it a little bit easier for you.
Let's go back a little bit to get into tournaments to sign up. So if we turn it back, we kind of ended on get the word out, talk to juniors clubs, post on social media nonstop, ask other people to post. Even on that post, we should be like, please share this. First time person, how do they collect money? Should they worry about a website right now for first things first? Should they do it through Venmo or PayPal?
I can tell you when I ran my events, there's plenty of companies that are out there that are happy to take your money for a fee. They can handle the registration for you. You can do Venmo, you can do Cash App, whatever it winds up being. What I did when I ran mine was I ran online. They have a lot of free online stuff like Yahoo has it and Google has it. Google has spreadsheets and Google Forms where you can actually handle registration online for free. So you create a link, you go to Google Forms, you create a link, which you get player 1, player 2, names, addresses, emails, whatever information you want. You can
get the emails and phone numbers because
phone numbers, social media address, the clicks, whatever it is, whatever information you want.
Yeah,
that's out there. And the important thing is get the right phone number, get their cell phone number. So morning of going, hey, are you guys coming? It's 7:50. We've been talking all week. Are you coming? Are you not coming? Because I've got to run this pool, and it's going to be a difference. The difference between a 17 pool and a 16 pool. That's a really big difference. And the last thing you want to be doing is at 8:30 trying to go refix everything after the first matches have been played. So, but if you have their home phone number and they're using their cell, which I know it seems weird and old school, but you're calling somebody at home and they're driving, you're never going to get hold of them.
Yeah.
Or texting them, or say, can I text you information? So you can do the reminders the day of. Because if you have that text, you can send a massive text out through a lot of free services that Friday night before saying, hey, reminder, check-in starts at 7. Closed at 7:30, captain's meeting 7:45, and people see that reminder going, hey, I have it.
I'll say that. Yeah. As the tournament organizer, like as soon as you get somebody's phone number, put that contact into your phone so that the morning of you're also not, oh crap, like I need to text everybody at the same time, anything like that. And for me, what I do is I put, if anybody is associated with our company, I put BAB in front of it. So Better at Beach, like right in front of it.
Yep.
And then I'll put their name. That way, if I'm looking to add people to a group and I need to do that group text, it's all I do is hit B on my phone and then everything populates. And now I can say select instead of thinking like, now I got to text Gene and then I got to text Xander and like,
yeah, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Keep that system going, whatever it winds up being. Or I can't tell any people if I'm Craig Volleyball or EVP Craig, and I was doing tour for so long. It's everybody no one knows my last name. It's just that's volleyball guy Craig.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Communication is key, and so get that registration online. You can do it. That way you're gathering the information that you need. Plus, you're building a marketing database for the future.
Yes.
People sign up, you have those emails, so now you can put in there, would you mind if I hit you with more things, future events? And it's a click a button, especially using that Google form. It's there and it's easy.
Do not just take the payment. Get the contact so that the next tournament, it's slightly easier to build.
And you can link your PayPal sign up to that Google form. Okay. So you can actually, when they hit the submit form, it takes them to a PayPal site where they put their names in and you get their credit card and then you get the email. So you get the email with the registration and the payment. Nice. So it looks, as a tournament director, it looks seamless because now they're going from registering to the payment as opposed to I have to go here to register and then I have to go Venmo or I have to do this payment wise. It's all kind of one form. And there's plenty of opportunities to do that. And then you can decide, do you want the person paying the couple bucks for the fee or do you want to eat it yourself for registration? That charging fee that goes on with the PayPal, whatever it is. And the other thing is do your best to get payment ahead of time because people who pay for things ahead of time are more likely to show up than people who are waiting to pay the day of, which sounds, a lot of people go, oh, I'm just going to pay when I get there. Really? Well,
nope. You're not in the tournament yet. Yeah.
No, you're not there. Or are you really? You had too much fun on Friday night and you're not coming in? I don't have your money. If I have your money, you're showing up. If you don't, then you're probably not showing up. Or hey, it's kind of gray out. Or hey, it's going to be 100 degrees today. I'm not coming. I didn't pay. So get that money ahead of time. And like you said earlier, give discounts for early birds and make it go up as time goes on, and give people multi-event discounts as well. I do a lot of events, which is Saturday and Sunday. So for like example, with my juniors, I tell all my juniors, if you pay to play in the women's event on Saturday, I'm only going to charge you $10 a head to play juniors on Sunday.
Cool.
So it's just kind of that you're getting double play, plus you're getting double people playing. They're getting a discount for playing. It's a little more paperwork on your end because you have to figure out, discounts and stuff, but it gives people a chance to, pay to play. Or hey, like I doing a thing right now with DME where we do a Friday Night Lights program. We're 7:30. We open up the courts. They're open. It's $10 a head. You can come out and play until you get tired. We turn the lights off and go home. Nice. You can pay $10 a night, or you can pay $50 for the next 3 months and show up whenever it is.
Love that.
So you show up once, you show up 10 times. It's still that way. So pay ahead of time, and we're good to go. And I'm trying to keep it cheap so people are playing. And I much rather, if I'm going out for a sponsor and looking for sponsorships, I want to have 100 people playing in my event, or 3 times a year, as opposed to 10 people playing this there. If I'm charging $100 a team and I get 10 teams, that's $1,000. Or if I get 100 teams at $10, I'm still making $1,000. But now I'm able to go after that sponsors, still have the same money, but now my sponsors is where my profit is.
Do you think people should worry about sponsors off the bat? I personally don't think so at all.
No.
I think you should be so concerned with growing your event for the first year or two, and then once things are a little bit automated in that, then like maybe you can start sending out emails or hire somebody to go out to companies and say, hey, this is how many people we have at the event.
You can
there's so much wasted time in people trying to chase sponsors.
I don't chase sponsors, and a lot of my sponsors come naturally through it.
Okay.
And I'm honest with people, and I go, okay, here's what you want to sponsor. If you want a A-frame, it's $250.
Okay.
And that's my cost for it. So now, as an event director, I have ball dividers. I don't have to go buy them. My sponsors are out there, and it's there, and it's not super hard for me to do. And I'm not making or losing money off of that first year because they're there. Second year, okay, now you're a sponsor. Hey, I still have your ball divider. Now it's $100 for year 2. So that's pure profit.
And remember, if you're going to do, guys, if you are early on, if you're going to do sponsors, you have no idea how much extra time that is going to add. It is not going to add so much extra money in the beginning, but it will
Yeah.
crush your time, and it will potentially ruin a relationship because you have to talk to them in the beginning so that they know where their thing is going. You have to take pictures for them during the tournament, get videos of it, get all that information. You have to send them stats afterwards saying, this is how many people we had. This is how many people had your stuff in our hands. And then you have to talk to them again for the next time, because if you don't do all of those things, they will never sponsor one of your events ever again. Because like, oh, we did that 5 years ago and we didn't get anything out of it. And now you might be 10 times the size, but because you're associated with it and you did it crappy the first time, they won't come back. So don't get sponsors, in my opinion, until you are established and you've built your systems first.
And you have people that are there to handle it, because day of, a sponsor shows up and you're in the middle of doing pool plays, or you're doing playoffs and you have 10 pools coming in and the sponsor's there and they've paid you, some money. You're going to want to get up and shake their hand, because they're going to feel like you're ignoring them. They go, hold on a minute, I have to, let me run these events, then I'll talk to you. And then 2 hours later, by the time everything's going, the sponsor's gone. They're like, oh, that guy blew me off.
Yep.
So you have to figure out what's going on. So if you have a friend or someone that wants to give you $100, $200 for a ball banner, great. But don't go out and getting those, oh, we can get $200,000 in sponsorships. Oh, you can't.
No.
It's grandiose.
And if you do, you should be working in Silicon Valley, where they fundraise every day.
Or if you say, hey, I'm going to have 10,000 people at this event, and you show up and there's 50 people and a sponsor shows up, because you don't know who's going to show up the first couple of years. Build your database, build your picture, so you can say, here's opportunities that are out there.
Yes.
And now here's your chance to go do it. Take a picture of it. And this is what our event looked like this year. Use Photoshop, throw some of their banners in, or throw some net graphics on, or whatever it is. Or get the sponsors. If you know someone, say, hey, I'm getting nets. My cost is $500 for the net, or whatever it winds up being. You can sponsor it and we'll have it up there for all the events. I just want you need to buy, or if your friend runs an auto garage or 7-Eleven, whatever it winds up being, and you're friends with them, hey, do you want to do this? We'll get it up there and then we'll play on it the rest of the year. And if not, great. If not, then go get your nets.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for sponsors. For me, is an opportunity. It's not going to be there in the beginning. It's really, like you said, it's really hard to keep sponsors happy as time goes on.
It is. One thing that just came to my mind is that you have to, because people will always come up during your event and say, hey, what's going on here? Please just have one piece of paper set that says, interested in our events, tournaments, write your name, write your email, write your phone number, because then you can contact them again. But if they walk past and they're interested and you don't get any of their information, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to go home and Google you perfectly in time for the next event so that they can sign up. So just get yourself one single sheet of paper so that they can write first name, last name, email, phone number, and say, we'll contact you tomorrow. We'll get you on our email list or whatever, but have that ability for the on-site people.
On a clipboard.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for coming. Here's the information. If you put your name and phone number on here, and even if you want to do something with that, make it associated with it. So if you have a PA, hey, come sign up for our interest list. Out of the interest list, we're going to give away a free koozie, or we're going to do this or something on it. So it gives people an incentive, because people like stuff. It could be a 99-cent koozie, but they're going to sign up for it. And then you have that list. And what's the worst case scenario? You create a database, and maybe they come play, maybe they don't. But at least you're getting the information out. And how hard is it to give someone a koozie or a T-shirt or
sticker? People love stickers. I can't believe people still love stickers. But they do. They love them.
Computers and phones, everything. Yeah, it's amazing. If you get something, a little sticker for the back of someone's case, or their phone case or whatever it is, they love those things, and it goes good for you. Or temporary tattoos, whatever it winds up being.
We use lanyards. People love lanyards. They're super cheap, super easy. You just go to stickermule.com and they have stickers, but they also have like lanyards. They're really cheap, and then people see them literally every day because they attach a lanyard to their key, and people don't know, what's missing from their lives until they get a free lanyard. Like, this is awesome.
Like I have a little keychain with a carabiner on it, a little clip on it. I don't know what I do without that now. Just even for being at events, I just take it and clip it to the tent or clip it somewhere else so I know where my keys are. Yeah. And one day it broke, and I went and I was like, oh, this is the worst day of my life, because I don't have I can't clip on it. I got to get my keys in my pocket. I'm going to lose them. On the beach tournament, they get heavy as the day goes on. Yep. So it leaves me losing things, but yeah.
Craig, I've kept you for 2 hours now.
No, it's been a while.
I do have another meeting coming up, so
No worries.
I want to wrap this up. But I would like to utilize you for some mentorship for me, for
Sure.
us, and I don't know how that'll look or what type of time you have, but you've proven yourself to be an absolute resource, just by giving all of this free information to people who want to start volleyball in there. Like this episode on its own
Mhm.
stands as its own course, for to be able to build an event, what to look out for, and at least
Yeah.
get the steps rolling. I know that I have your information, but
Yeah.
if anybody else is out there and they have any questions or they need to contact you or they're interested in your academy or your events, how could somebody reach out to you, or what website should they go to get in touch?
They can look up DME Academy Beach Volleyball.
Okay.
That is out there. I think you had some of it listed earlier on the link on there. We're on Instagram, DME Beach VB. You can find me on there. That's probably the easiest ways to do it. I think it's craig.lenninger@dmesports.com is the email address. You can do that. Just kind of get out there. I'm the only Craig Lenninger that's in the United States that I know of. So if you Google my name, you're going to find me. But it's there. But that's kind of it's there to do. And there's Instagram that's up there. So find that. And I'm here to help anybody that wants to help or anybody that's willing to listen. I'm always happy to share ideas because, like we talked about earlier, it's getting people out there and playing. We've got to get people doing the right things and get there having great experiences because we want to grow this sport. It's the best sport, in my opinion, in the world.
Yep.
And more people should be playing it. And it's brought me across the world and back, and I love every day of it. And it's my passion to go out there and do things. And it's, I'm happy to help anybody that wants to do it and happy to help you guys out in any way we can. And, just let me know. I'm here for you.
Awesome. Guys, along with what you see on screen, if you're listening here and you check the show notes, we've put all of the contact information that Craig's allowed us to put there. So if you want to get in touch with them or you're wondering, little questions like insurance or what that LLC or S Corp or just starting an event, or if you just need some confidence in starting it, this guy's somebody who's worked with major organizations, and each one that he's touched has then become a jump in success. So absolute resource. And I'm so thankful that we got to have this conversation, Craig. I just want to thank you. Really, this was awesome.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy talking about it and just keep going and going because I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's have you on again so we can we can dive deeper into one of the other 20 things that you're excellent at.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Be happy to come back anytime. So let me know.
Awesome. All right. Great. That's it. I'm going to run. And thanks for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Guys, that episode blew my mind. Coming into it, not kind of knowing where we're going to go with the conversation, and then being able to absolutely go to school in terms of like tournament facility, event organization. I'm telling you right now that whether he likes it or not, I'm going to try to lean on Craig's for advice in the future and see where we can go. But if you save this episode, or you subscribe right now, or you want to share it with a friend, remember that we all probably know somebody who's thought of or is attempting to try or start just putting together a tournament or an event. I think a lot of us have looked at an event or a tournament and thought like, oh, I could probably do that. This is a great starter pack for you. And I really think you could share this lesson. You could save this episode and refer to it again and again so that you have that step-by-step process to really get started. So there's a lot of gems in here for anybody who is really going up that alley. And I'm so happy that we got to have this episode where we can really give you guys a place to start and actionable steps to take to start your own event. And don't be afraid to start your event. And I'll tell you one thing as well from my experience. Don't be afraid to let people know that it's your first time. I know that we all think that we have to like look and seem professional. With my online members and the people who are learning from me in beach volleyball, I lean on them to tell that to help me say like, hey, where does my website suck? What am I not showing you that you needed to know before signing up? For all of our camps and clinics, we send emails afterwards saying, tell us your worst part of the experience. Tell us the best part of your experience. It is completely and 100% okay to say, hey guys, it's my first time running an event. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm going to work my tail off, but I want you guys to be open with your opinions all the way. I'm not going to tell you to accept everybody's opinions immediately, because you're going to change too many things before you actually start running, and then you might get stuck. But have a form set up and have an email ready to go after the event that says specifically, tell me the 2 worst parts of the entire experience. Tell me the 2 best parts. Right? Have them be honest and ask both questions. We send a lot of those emails and messages, and we leave ourselves open so that we can advance, we can grow, and we can create better things. And hopefully, if you guys ever come to one of our camps or clinics, you get to experience all of the change and reformation that has come with each event, because we love listening to our players, and it's for them, right? Like the whole thing is for them. So have that set up as well. All right, man, this is packed. This morning fired me up. I hope you liked it. Please throw us a share, throw us a subscribe. I think you can rate our podcast somewhere, somehow. If you can and you liked it, give us a good rating. If you hated it, send me an email or send me a DM at Mark Burik on Instagram, and help me change and make it better for you. All right. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. Hope we're able to give you a ton. I know I got a ton out of this conversation, so I hope you did too. And as always, I'll see you on the sand.